Why does the United States, widely known for promoting freedom, democracy, and justice, stand by Israel unconditionally, even when the world is sharply divided over Israel's actions? Why does the USA, a country built on the ideals of human rights, continue to support Israel despite the controversies surrounding its treatment of Palestinians? What if I told you that this alliance goes far deeper than politics, economics, or military strategy? That this bond is intertwined with biblical prophecy and divine promises that have been unfolding for thousands of years? In this video, we're going to delve into the spiritual, historical, and geopolitical forces that bind the USA and Israel together, as foretold in the Bible. You'll see why supporting Israel is not just a matter of national interest for the USA, it's a spiritual obligation. This alliance is not simply about military support or economic collaboration. It's about fulfilling God's promises to Israel and aligning with the divine plan for the end of days. By the end of this video, you'll have a fresh perspective on the USA-Israel relationship and understand why it's prophesied to be a key part of God's plan for the world. To understand why the USA stands so firmly with Israel, we need to go back to the Bible, specifically to the covenant that God made with Abraham, the patriarch of Israel. In Genesis 12:2-3, God declares to Abraham, "I will make you into a great nation, and I will bless you. I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and whoever curses you I will curse. And all peoples on earth will be blessed through you." This covenant established Israel as God's chosen people, and the land of Canaan, the modern-day state of Israel, as their eternal inheritance. The Bible repeatedly emphasizes that this land promise is everlasting. Genesis 17:8, Exodus 6:4, reaffirmed through Isaac and Jacob, Israel, and applies to their descendants, the Jewish people. But notice God's added promise: those who bless Israel will be blessed, and those who curse Israel will be cursed. This is a foundational principle in the Bible that has influenced nations for centuries, including the USA. In fact, when Israel declared its independence in 1948, fulfilling the ancient prophecy of the Jewish return to their homeland, Isaiah 1111:12, Ezekiel 3:6-24, the USA under President Harry Truman was the first nation to officially recognize Israel. Truman, a devout Christian, understood the biblical significance of Israel's rebirth. He reportedly said, "I am Cyrus," likening himself to the Persian king Cyrus, who, under God's direction, allowed the Jews to return from exile and rebuild Jerusalem, Isaiah 4:4-28. This deep spiritual connection between the USA and Israel has been nurtured by American Christians, especially evangelicals. For many believers, standing with Israel is a biblical mandate. It's about aligning with God's plan and receiving God's blessing in return. But this relationship is not just about spiritual duty. It also holds strategic significance. While biblical promises are central to the USA's support for Israel, there's no denying the mutual benefits that have come with this alliance in the Middle East. A region marked by instability, the USA has found in Israel a steadfast partner that shares its values of democracy and freedom. But more than that, Israel is the USA's eyes and ears in one of the most strategically critical parts of the world. Through military aid, the USA ensures that Israel maintains its military dominance in the region. The Iron Dome, one of the most sophisticated missile defense systems in the world, has been funded by the USA, protecting Israel from the constant barrage of rockets launched by groups like Hamas and Hezbollah. In return, Israel provides the USA with crucial intelligence on terrorist activities and Middle Eastern threats, helping the USA in its global counterterrorism efforts. In addition, Israel's tech industry, sometimes referred to as Silicon Wadi, has become a global hub of innovation. American companies like Google, Intel, and Microsoft heavily invest in Israeli technologies, benefiting from Israel's advancements in cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, and biotechnology. Supporting Israel is not just about ideology, it's also about securing America's economic interests in a rapidly advancing global market. Yet, many believe that there's more at stake than just military strategy or economic gain. For some, the USA's success and prosperity are directly tied to its support for Israel, as fulfilling Genesis 1:2-3 brings God's blessing. But there's another dimension to this: the spiritual and prophetic significance of America's support for Israel, especially in the end times. As the Bible unfolds, it reveals that Israel is not only God's chosen people, but also the epicenter of prophecy, especially concerning the end times. The conflicts that we see today between Israel and its neighbors, particularly in Gaza and the West Bank, have roots that go all the way back to biblical times, and according to prophecy, they are destined to intensify as we approach the end of days. One of the most crucial prophecies regarding Israel's future comes from Ezekiel 3:8-39, which describes the war of Gog and Magog. In these chapters, Gog, the ruler of a coalition of nations, leads an invasion against Israel. The nations listed include Persia, modern-day Iran, Cush, Put, Gomer, and Beth, Togarmah, which many scholars associate with Turkey and other Middle Eastern nations. The Bible tells us that in this final conflict, God Himself will intervene on behalf of Israel, destroying the armies that come against it. "I will summon a sword against Gog on all my mountains," declares the sovereign Lord. "I will pour down torrents of rain, hailstones, and burning sulfur on him and on his troops." Ezekiel 38:21-22. This prophecy points to Israel's central role in the end times, standing as the target of global aggression. But God's divine protection will ensure Israel's survival, making it clear that no nation can overthrow God's chosen people. The Bible also foretells a time when Jerusalem will become a flashpoint for the nations of the world. In Zechariah 12:2-3, God says, "I will make Jerusalem a cup of trembling for all the surrounding peoples. On that day when all the nations of the earth are gathered against her, I will make Jerusalem an immovable rock. All who try to move it will injure themselves." Many prophecy scholars believe that the modern-day conflicts in the Middle East, particularly the tensions between Israel and Palestinian territories, are leading up to these prophetic events. And here's where America's role becomes significant. Could the USA be part of the nations that stand with Israel in the end times? For many American Christians, there's a strong belief that America's future is directly connected to its support for Israel. As we mentioned earlier, Genesis 12:3 promises blessings to those who bless Israel, and many believe that America's prosperity, security, and global power are tied to its defense of the Jewish state. This belief has shaped U.S. foreign policy for decades, with multiple presidents from Harry Truman to Ronald Reagan to Donald Trump expressing their commitment to supporting Israel. Reagan famously said, "I support Israel because it is a fulfillment of prophecy." For these leaders, standing with Israel is about more than national interest. It's about securing God's favor. But this also raises a critical question. What happens if the USA turns its back on Israel? Many prophecy scholars warn that if America abandons Israel, it could face divine consequences. They point to the fall of nations in the past who opposed Israel, believing that the same could happen to modern powers. In light of these beliefs, America's support for Israel is seen not just as an act of loyalty, but as a spiritual necessity to maintain its global standing and divine protection. Finally, let's consider what the Bible says about Israel's ultimate role in the end times. The book of Revelation gives us a glimpse of the final events that will unfold before Jesus Christ's return. In Revelation 1:6-16, we read about the Battle of Armageddon, where the armies of the world will gather in Israel for a final confrontation. According to Revelation, this will mark the culmination of the end times and the final defeat of evil on earth. Many prophecy scholars believe that Israel's central role in these events is not coincidental. It's part of God's grand plan for the redemption of the world. For those who believe in biblical prophecy, America's defense of Israel is not just a political move, it's part of God's eternal plan. Thank you for watching Deep Bible Stories. If this video has given you new insight into the USA-Israel alliance, make sure to share your thoughts in the comments. We appreciate your continued support in sharing these deep truths.